You have been told that the sweat of your brow is the price of your bread, and you have believed it. You have convinced yourself that if you only push harder, if you stay later in the office, if you calculate every move with the precision of a machine, the world will finally grant you the security you crave. But I tell you, in the kingdom of the mind, your effort is the very thing that keeps your desire at a distance. Your struggle is not a sign of strength. It is a confession of absence. I want to speak to you tonight about a man who came to me recently, a man of high intellect, a professional who had spent 15 years climbing a ladder that seemed to grow taller with every step. He was mentally and spiritually depleted. He had mastered the art of doing, yet he possessed nothing but a heavy heart and a mounting pile of obligations. He believed that his financial liberation would come through his labor. He thought that by exhausting his mind during the day, he was proving his worthiness to the law. But the law does not reward your exhaustion. It only mirrors your conviction. He was a man who had forgotten how to breathe, and in his frantic search for a way out, he made the one mistake that most of you are making right now. When this man first heard the promise of the law of assumption, he was desperate, and desperation is a poor architect. He went home and tried to apply the techniques with the same frantic energy he used at his desk. Each night he would lay in his bed, his mind racing with the anxieties of the day. He tried to force his imagination to build complex scenes of wealth. He tried to visualize bank balances, to hear the voices of colleagues congratulating him, to count imaginary stacks of currency. But his mind was a battlefield, because he felt the lack of money so deeply. Every mental image he tried to hold was met with a violent no from his senses. The harder he tried to see abundance, the more clearly he felt his poverty. He was trading physical labor for mental labor, and mental labor is not faith, it is strain, and strain is the subtle announcement that you do not have what you are seeking. If you have to fight to hold a scene, if you have to struggle to feel a mood, you are still standing outside the door, begging to be let in. You are treating your imagination like a stubborn employee you must whip into submission. I told him, you cannot force the womb of creation. You are trying to make it happen, and that is precisely why it hasn't. But there is a specific way to move without moving a single muscle. One evening, this man reached a point of total surrender. He was simply too tired to visualize. He was too weary to construct a single mental image. He sat in his chair and realized that he no longer had the strength to technique himself into a better life. In that moment of absolute defeat, he found the secret. He realized that he didn't need to see the money. He didn't need to see the new office or the signed contracts. What he truly wanted, what he was actually starving for, was the feeling of being safe, the feeling that the weight was finally gone. He decided to abandon all complexity. He closed his eyes and let his body go limp. He did not try to see anything. Instead, he took a deep, slow breath and allowed a single, quiet phrase to rise from his heart, a phrase that implied the end was already a fact. He whispered to himself, "It is already settled." He didn't say it with hope. He didn't say it as a prayer to a distant God. He said it as a man who had just seen a debt paid in full. It is already settled. As he repeated it, he felt the physical tension in his neck dissolve. The knot in his stomach loosened. For the first time in years, he wasn't looking toward a future relief. He was wearing the relief now. He fell asleep in that quiet dignity. He didn't know how it would be settled, but he no longer felt the need to ask. For 3 weeks, he did nothing else. He went to his work. He performed his duties, but he had stopped the inner argument. Whenever a bill arrived or a client was lost, he did not react. He simply returned to the secret room of his mind and touched that feeling again. It is already settled. The 3D world is a delayed shadow. It must follow the movement of your soul, but it does not always move at the speed of your desire. He remained faithful to the unseen. Then the bridge of incidents began to appear, not through a promotion, not through more work. It began with a casual conversation with a distant relative he hadn't spoken to in a decade, a conversation about an old family estate in a country he had never visited, a property that had been tied up in legal disputes for over 20 years. Suddenly, without his intervention, the dispute was resolved. The land was sold to a government development project because he was the sole heir to that specific branch of the family. The settlement that arrived in his mailbox was not merely enough to pay his debts. It was enough to never work again. He succeeded not because he was clever. He succeeded because he finally became still enough for the law to work through him. The world did not change because he fought it. The world changed because he became a different man in the silence of his bed. You are listening to me tonight because you are tired. You are tired of the how. You are tired of the when. You are tired of the techniques that feel like chores. So, I invite you to do what this man did. Tonight, as you lay your head on your pillow, lay down the burden of being the creator. Stop trying to fix your life. Stop trying to force the money to appear. Choose your own phrase. Thank you. It is finished. Isn't it wonderful? Do not try to see the details. Just find the tone of the relief. Let it wash over your body like a warm rain. Feel the imaginary weight of your problems being lifted from your shoulders. And do not ask where they are going. You do not need to be a struggling professional anymore. You can be the one who is already secure, the one who is already free. If you can fall asleep in the absolute conviction that your desire is already a fact, the world of shadows has no choice but to rearrange itself to match your light. Do not wait for a sign. The feeling is the sign. The relief is the proof. Now, let us go into the silence.